Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, get in there, talk about www. Call me, you got that.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Well, for my money, he's got all the facial characteristics of a criminal.
Now, here's your host, that gravy sopping, crappie flopping, stump jumping, Bible thumping, gun toting, mater growing son of a gun, the backwoods Baptist himself, Pastor Harold Smith.
Welcome. If you are a regular viewer, I'm sure you've noticed that we have a different backdrop, and it's not because I decorated. It's because I moved from the back room to the front room. This is actually my office here at 522 Main Street, Backwoods Baptist World Headquarters in the Backwoods Bookstore or Book Company here in historic downtown Van Buren. And we moved it up here so that we would have a little better backdrop. And this is the last bear I ever shot. I wouldn't shoot. This is my third one. I would not shoot another one unless he was biting my arm off. If you've ever skinned a bear, you know it's like skinning a 300-pound possum. I want to welcome you to the podcast today. I think we have a great topic. It's one I've talked about before. It's one I've talked about on other podcasts. And I'm going to keep talking about it because it's important. We're going to talk about social media and limiting our, I wouldn't just say like regulating our social media. I'm talking about like dumping it in mass. So I know you'll say, well, this is the Backwoods Baptist podcast. Well, you're right. It is the Backwoods Baptist podcast, and you too might be a Backwoods Baptist. If you're listening to the podcast while driving a tractor, while feeding your cows before work, looking at you, Chris, and I know many of you do the same thing. But I'm excited today because sitting here at my left is one of my best friends, Gary Fitzpatrick. Gary is the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Roland, Oklahoma. He's my neighbor in the country. He lives about 2 miles from me, and that's neighbors. And we've been friends a long time. How long we been friends, Gary?
I would say probably early 2000s, right in there, early to mid 2000s.
Yeah, early to mid 2000s. I would say.
I know who you were, but we weren't,
Right. When I started preaching, Gary was preaching. That's when we became friends. Gary was a printer. He was in print business back then. He printed a lot of stuff for me, and we just became better and better and better friends as time went on. But today, you are pulling the plug on your Facebook account for good.
This is the second time, but I promise you, this is it.
So, did you delete it completely, or did you just take it off your phone the first time?
Well, the first time I deleted it completely. I had enough. It was during the fish market flu we had some people, that were mad at me because I was complaining about things, just people being people, and everybody's got an opinion. They're like armpits. Everybody's got two of them and they both stink, so anyway, I actually went in and deleted everything. I mean, I shut it down. And I stayed off of it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a guy that likes to bargain and junk. And that marketplace on Facebook, it is fabulous. I mean, you can get anything you want on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that excuse to get back on there and some other things. And we'll probably talk about those things. But I got back on there and it just started over again. And it wasn't so much the people this time, it was the establishment, the
it was
powers
Facebook,
that be. Yeah,
operations.
It was. And several times I got blocked and I'd try to sell something and they didn't follow their rules or wasn't worded right or something, just something along those lines. And it just kept growing. It kept getting worse. And we had this last little incident that pushed me over the edge, and that was we got some chickens back in the spring, and I had to buy 5 roosters, so I had 4 roosters I need to get rid of. So I put it on the marketplace. You can't put that on there. It's animals. You can't sell animals. You know, you can't do this. You can't do that. So they blocked it. They took my ad down. And then a couple of weeks ago, we're getting a lot of eggs. So I thought I'll just throw them on my marketplace. And
because you've been selling okra and tomatoes. I mean, you have a greenhouse. You sell a lot of produce.
Yeah, we got a little produce stand, and we were selling stuff. And so I put on there, we had farm fresh eggs. That's all I put on there. Farm fresh eggs, $4 a dozen. Walmart's selling them for $3.89. I thought I can get $4. You know?
Yeah, right.
Blam! I mean, it hadn't been on there 2 minutes, and they come back. This is against our regulations. You can't put any kind of animals, live animal stuff on there. Well, an egg is not a live animal.
Now, these people are pro-abortion.
Oh yeah,
so they would kill a baby in the womb because that's not an animal. That's not a human.
But they don't want you killing a chicken egg.
But a chicken egg, yeah, that's livestock.
And I almost became enraged over it. I mean, I wanted to, go up to wherever Facebook is and grab whoever it is. But that's kind of where I stand right now with it.
Yeah. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, that you couldn't sell an egg.
Yeah.
And you could go to any farmer's market here, unregulated. We're in Arkansas. I mean,
yeah.
You there's signs, fresh eggs for sale, any country road you drive down.
Yeah.
You can go to. I mean, this is not a regulated thing in our part of the world. And but the point is, that's form of censorship. What you can and cannot sell. I mean, obviously, you can't sell guns. You can't sell knives. You can't sell any kind of weapon. And so this is what got me. I'll give you my own background if you've not listened to some of my older podcasts. I dumped my account over a year ago. I don't remember exactly when I did it, but it was over a year ago. I did it because it was a time waster and because when I had something to say, they would block it.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't get out. I mean, I got to the point where I would post things and I would call my friends and say, hey, did you see that post I made a couple days ago? No. And I mean, it wouldn't be like people I didn't know. These would be friends that we go back and forth on Facebook all the time. I should be in their close circle of friends. But YouTube deemed my content to be something they didn't want distributed. That and just wasting too much time. So I got off of it. I just dumped it all together. I said, this is not for me. I'm done. And then I began to pastor churches that had Facebook pages that really needed to be updated.
Yeah.
And so this is what got me. I thought, well, man, I can't not have a Facebook account because as pastor, I need to be able to post service times, share updates, announce things that we're doing at the church on Facebook. So I created a fictitious account called Hance Vavner. And I swapped the V and the H off Vance Havner, and I took Vance Havner's picture, and I swapped it for Hance Vavner. And then I created also the Backwoods Baptist podcast page so that I could take these podcasts, put them on a Facebook account. That way people on Facebook could see them.
Yeah.
That's what Facebook's for, being social.
Yeah.
What I was discovering was the content would, if it was something that Facebook was, I mean, if I said, hey, look, I'm going to talk about 1 Peter chapter 1.
Yeah.
Facebook didn't care about that. Okay, talk about 1 Peter chapter 1. If I said, let's talk about Israel's a buzzword.
Yeah, that's a dinger right there.
And so then if you have a commercial account or an account where they're trying to get you to sell ads with them and buy ads with them, they were like, you can boost this post and reach 40 people for $40 or something, Well, I have insights where I could see, Gary, just exactly how many people were seeing these posts. And if it was not one of their buzzwords, if it wasn't about the shutdown or it wasn't about COVID vaccines, if it was something that just me mentioning it on here is going to trigger all sorts of things. But the point I was making is I would put a post up. I have, I don't know, 50 people that follow the page. I'd put a post up. It would have 8 impressions. It was shown 8 times.
Yeah.
And if I put it up and let's say it said Israel, which they're pro-Palestine, if it said Israel on it, it would have 2 impressions.
Yeah.
So there's 40 people that have said, or 50 people that have said, we want to follow this content.
Yeah.
We want updates from this content. Okay. Facebook should be giving updates from that content.
Exactly.
I know this from my own account. I would get on Facebook all the time, be looking for updates, looking for posts, not ever finding them. I'd think the account went out of business.
Yeah.
Then I would type it in, and lo and behold, they've been posting the whole time, but Facebook doesn't feel like I need to see their post.
Exactly. I want to call it a substitute. We have, and I've thought about this, I think we've substituted, we've made excuses, because when I got back on it, I had all kinds of excuses to get back on it. I want to keep up with my kids. Everybody wants to keep up with their kids. I want to, I want to get on Marketplace, and I did want to get on Marketplace.
Yeah.
But I think during the shutdown, we hurt ourselves with it by making those excuses. It gave people the excuse to stay home, and some of them never came back, and that's kind of a different deal. But
yeah, we can talk about that. I mean, let's talk about it later. When I want to recommend that churches get off Facebook completely.
Yeah, me too.
But back to what I was saying, what they're doing is called shadow banning.
It is. They're
just simply saying, okay, you can post whatever you want as long as it's not, nudity, which somehow I still see nudity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't go to these sites. I don't look for these things.
No.
But half-naked women are recommended as my friends.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the funny thing. So on the Hans Wagner account,
oh, this is going to be good.
I only have one friend. I only have one friend. It's Alex Jones, the conspiracy guy. I was wanting to see what Alex Jones said. I accidentally sent him a friend request. He's not friends with a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
But he's friends with Hans Wagner on Facebook. So the official Alex Jones conspiracy account is my only friend on Facebook. And I'm keeping it. I've kept him on there just because I think it's hilarious. But my point is, this shadow banning, just saying that this guy's opinions are not what we want put on our platform. They're now able, just through their algorithms and through all these other ways of collecting information, to say, Gary, we just don't want your opinion out there. So we're going to suppress your opinion. We're going to suppress Harold's opinion. We're going to suppress the Backwoods Baptist, which I never made posts on Facebook. I never did anything. It was just a way for me to access church accounts. But my point being is, if you are if you're on a platform where they can decide what you say, whether it gets heard or not,
that's we are a generation of Americans that we're free to say anything we wanted to say.
Yeah.
And we still should be, but we're not.
Right.
Somebody higher up is choosing what we can. They're not blocking us from saying it, but in a sense they are. They're not letting it get out there.
Yeah, they're putting a muffle over us.
Yeah.
We can still say it, just not very many people are going to hear it.
Yeah.
And the thing about the freedom of speech, it's not freedom to say the happy, sweet things. It's freedom for someone to say the things you don't agree with. And so this is a publicly traded company. I mean, they're owned. They have a whatever.
Yep. They do whatever
they can do whatever they want to do with it. But when we get into political seasons, they let a lot of liberal Democratic talking points go through, and they really restrict the conservative.
They do.
And so here's why it bothers me. And let's get around to this. I mean, we're 15 minutes in already. The reason it bothers me is because we are becoming increasingly dependent on a social media platform that has made it very clear we're not going to get to say what we want to say.
That's it.
And so churches are dependent on broadcasting their sermons, their media on on Facebook, only to be maybe told they can't have it. I mean, Joseph Allen, my pastor up at Lee Creek, said he had some sermons deleted off Facebook. Yeah. Did you see that post?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not on Facebook.
It.
I heard people talking about it.
I did see it, yeah. And he actually gave what they told him, the content. There was something in that content. Now, I didn't listen to the sermon because I don't know, but there was something in that sermon that triggered them.
Okay.
And they said this is not acceptable. It doesn't meet our standards.
Yeah, so just your typical Baptist pastor, and I don't mean that negative light to Joseph, but I mean, he's not some controversial preacher that's picking fights with everybody. He's just your average.
He's going verse by verse.
He's your average expositor of the Bible.
Yeah.
It's just a normal pastor.
Yeah.
If they're saying, hey, what you're doing is not welcome here, church, this needs to be a wake-up call to you who say, well, look, we're reaching the world through Facebook.
No, you're not.
With the push of a button, this is what'll happen. Crickets. They can turn you off just as fast as I push that button right there.
Yep.
They can shut it down. They can deem this is no longer necessary. This is something that they don't want on their platform. And look, they can do it as button pushing, or they can just restrict it.
They can have an algorithm that says, hey, if this word comes up,
it's out.
Gone.
Yeah.
We're doing away with it.
We're doing away with it.
Yeah.
And so when churches and their people all get linked into one system, this is the way it has to be. And the system, we already see flaws with it. They're telling you can't sell eggs. I mean,
that's nuts.
Yeah, you're going to kill the world if you sell eggs,
And poor baby chickens, but we've killed 60 million of our own, that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay to abort babies, just don't abort chickens.
Yeah. Those poor animals.
But you can't sell guns on there. I mean, you can't even.
I get that.
But I mean, you can't show a picture of a gun. I can't get on there like my friends. I can't say, boys, I just went and bought the gun I've been saving for 2 years to get. I can't take a picture of that and put it on there.
Let me give you an example. I had a piece of equipment. I had a log splitter that went on the back of a tractor, and it just didn't fit what I needed. It's too slow. So I put on Facebook, here's a piece of equipment. I'll do some trading. This is what I want for it, but I will do some trading. And I like to trade for things that go bang. I got away with it. It went through, and I actually traded for a thing that went bang, I tried it a second time, and they've already picked up on that, and they said this is against our
So my point is, if it's legal to own a gun and I have a legally owned firearm, I can't even put a picture of it on there and say, look what I have. I can't put a picture of ammunition on there. That's legal. I reload ammunition. I can't put any information on there about that because that's teaching people how to make their own ammo.
Yeah.
These are all legal things in our country that they've deemed doesn't fit their community guidelines. The reason this is a problem, if you're teaching your church, hey, you've got to be a part of Facebook. If you want to know when we're closed, you need a Facebook account. If you want to watch a sermon when you're sick at home, if you're leading your people as a church to be more and more involved on Facebook in order to stay in step with what your church is doing, you're actually conditioning them to be restricted in the freedom of speech, and you're actually subjecting yourselves to one push of the button or one pull back of the throttle, and your reach is no longer what it was, or it's non-existent.
They've used it we played right into their hands.
Yeah.
That's what they did. And I noticed it in 2020 when all that happened. We closed the church for 6 weeks, I think. Well, the second week I said, we're not doing this. So I came up with the transmitter. You pull up in the parking lot, and we're going to have church. I'm going to preach, and we're going to transmit it over your radio
stations
in your car.
Yeah.
And we had people come up, and when I look back on it, when I really noticed it is I'd go out and talk to people after the service was over. There'd be people sitting out there in their pajamas, and they're drinking their coffee.
Yeah.
And looking back on that, I think the church did itself a big disservice oh, you know what we can do? We can live stream this on Facebook and everybody can see it at home. We're going to get the gospel out there. We're going to preach. We're just going to keep preaching.
Yeah.
The problem is those people never came back. Most of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, we didn't do that. We met in a barn out in the middle of nowhere at an undisclosed location in the backwoods of Arkansas. But we called it the John Bunyan services during COVID. You know, we secretly met in a barn. And the reason we did that is we had all these people from outside of our area that knew we weren't going to close. And so we had people from Tulsa, Joplin, Russellville. I mean, these are all like 2 hour away drives that were going to come in and go to church with us. And I said, man, our church is fixing to double in size. Let's just tell everybody we're closing. And I called everybody in church, said, let's go out and meet out in the barn.
In the barn, yeah.
So that's what we did. And people blasted me for being a compromiser and closing my church. And I said, okay, whatever. You have no idea what's going on. So when it was up and they said, you know, you can go back under these certain guidelines and all this stuff. And I'm like, we're going back as is. We go back, we're going back as is.
That's what we did.
The people were like, let's just stay in the barn.
Yeah, they liked it.
Let's just stay out here. You preaching off 2 bales of straw set up like a pulpit. Let's just stay out here. And I said, no, we got to get back in town and let people see us again. But the whole point behind that was then people were like, hey, we're back in church. We can start broadcasting and live streaming on Facebook. And I said, we're not going to do that.
No.
I said, what is happening in this room can only happen if you're here. There's no virtual church service.
You have to ask yourself, what's the church?
Yeah.
It's not out there.
It requires you to be present. You cannot fulfill the one another passages of the New Testament unless you are there, actually there. And so I just never did that. Now, look, I don't fault churches that do that. I mean, Lee Creek does it today. That's Pastor Joseph's call. And, I wholeheartedly support whatever he decides. He's the pastor.
That's right.
But I think from that time, from COVID forward, how many of our churches have really got into putting things on Facebook, running live stream, because it's simple, it's easy, and you can just post it. It's automatically there. People are watching from home. I mean, I preached in a church recently, and the pastor came up and said, hey, I'm getting all these comments from the live stream, people that were home. And I understand, well, we got these shut-ins, we got this technology.
Sure.
Okay, well, the live streaming technology exists outside of Facebook.
Yeah.
I suggest you find it.
Yeah.
And train your people to get off Facebook.
Because at some point, they're going to do just exactly what they did to Joseph, to all of them.
They're going to start picking and choosing.
It started. I mean, they done it. And I had some on YouTube at my former church. I had a YouTube channel, and I put them on there. And I actually had YouTube starting to. They would say, "Hey, we don't like this. We're going to delete this
Right.
video." And
right.
So, I think we've substituted. We've made excuses. Oh, this is great. We could use this. This is a great tool. But my fear is that we've swallowed that bait, and it's not. Yes, it does have some advantages. I agree with that, but I think for the most part, it's wrong. We don't need to be doing it.
Right. Sermon audio is a good protected way. They have their own hardwired database where they can store all the sermons. Nobody can interfere with it. They've spent a ton of money at Sermon Audio and being able to secure the sermons. That would be a good option. And they offer live streaming as well. And you can put their button right on your website, and you can live stream through them right onto the website. Right now, Spotify, which is Anchor, Spotify, now it's Spotify. That's where I upload all of these podcasts that I'm doing here at the Backwoods Baptist Podcast. They're letting people like Joe Rogan get on there and say all the things that people hate. So thus far, they've been really good to let Christians get on there and say things that other people may not like. Yeah. And, that may run its course one day, and this all may be a thing of the past. But I'm recommending that churches find other ways to communicate with their people, find other ways to advertise your events, find other ways to do it. Now, what would be the benefits of getting off Facebook? Number one, you'd have to go back to doing things in person. You'd have to be personal.
Yeah.
You'd have to go knock on a door and say, hey, can we put a flyer up in your business advertising our trunk or treat Halloween festival?
That's what we're doing right now. We got flyers that we're going to go around.
So last year when I was pastor at Roland, before Gary came, we did the first time we've done it, maybe ever, first time in a long time, but we gave away 1,800 gospel tracts that night and never left the parking lot of the church.
Yeah. Let them come to you.
Let them come to you. And you're mixing the devil and Jesus Christ. We didn't mix the devil and anything. We gave away candy and gospel tracts.
Yeah.
How's that bad?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a whole bunch of other stuff that's worse than that if you want to go there, But
I mean, that is a way of getting out to the community who you are, what you do. Each person that gave away a tract gave away a different tract. So some of them gave away information on the church. Some of them gave gospel literature. Some of them gave literature from Scripture, encouraging people to read the Bible. Some of them gave creation tracts, like, hey, look, you can't believe this evolution. Yeah. And so by diversifying that, we really gave out a complete set of information for people to go home and look through and find out who we are and what we do. And we did it in person. And I'm going to tell you what, it means more than sending a heart or a thumbs up or a hug.
Well, I think we fall into the trap, too, of the church thinks we're not getting anything out of it. We want bang for our buck, so we're going to stay on Facebook or we're going to do this or do X, Y, Z. I told the people at church, I said, we're not in it for what we can get out of it. I said, we're in it for what we can put out there.
Right.
And we want to put the gospel of Jesus Christ out there in the community. That's what changes. The word's going to change it.
Yeah. So what I ultimately did yesterday, when you told me the story about you can't sell eggs on Facebook, it was kind of a last straw for me because I'd been looking at my insights, and I'm like, okay, if I don't say anything controversial, I reach 12 people, not the 50 that follow it. I reach 12. I don't reach anybody new. So I said, the only reason I'm still on Facebook and have this secret account with one friend, Alex Jones, just saying his name is probably going to push this podcast so far to the bottom.
Oh, yeah, we'll be down to
But
nobody will see this.
The only reason I'm on here is to be able to operate church pages when I go in as interim pastor.
Yeah.
So I made my mind up. I'm like, there's no need for me if I go to a church and they have a Facebook page, oh, that's cute, thanks. Yeah. And I'm just going to move on. Yeah. John the Baptist didn't have a Facebook account.
No.
I don't think it's of the devil.
I don't either. But I think that the enemy of the church is in control of things.
Listen, I don't
hate the church.
Yeah, I don't think Hollywood started out as the devil.
No.
But if we back up to the 1930s and look at today over the last 100 years, boy, it sure got us a lot closer to the devil, hadn't it?
I guarantee you, yeah.
I don't think rock and roll is the devil. No. I love Southern rock, all right? That's
Give me some Leonard Skinner.
Give me some Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah.
But the rock of today, where we came from, it's so I'm not saying that Facebook is the devil.
No.
But I am saying it's sure getting us a lot closer. If you back off and look at where we started, look at our freedoms, look at what we're giving up, also we can share a picture of what we had for lunch.
I would say ask yourself, what excuse do I have for being on there?
Yeah.
I'm keeping up with my kids. If you can't keep up with your kids some other way than Facebook,
you ain't much of a parent.
You ain't much of a parent. I'm just telling you.
How much time do you spend sitting here doing this?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, that was the next thing. That was the thing that got me. This little smartphone that I got, it pops up on every Sunday, and it tells me how many hours I've spent on this stupid thing.
Yeah.
And I saw a meme the other day of a guy had his face, and this Facebook, this phone, this iPhone, he had it up here, and it had grown tentacles, and it was reaching out, and it was stuck right to his face, and I thought, that's me. I thought,
Well, I don't have anything on this phone. I mean, I doubt you can see it. I don't have anything on this phone other than YouTube, and that's so I can watch a video and learn how to fix something I'm working on, Maps and Spotify, so I can listen to stuff while I go down the road. I'm not going to be glued to that, and you shouldn't be either. Yeah. I told people this Sunday down in Nashville. I was preaching for Bruce Short. I said I never read the Bible through in a year. I was 48 years old, had never read the Bible through in a year. Now, I've read it through, but I've never completed it in a year.
Yeah.
I've never even come close. I mean, but when I dumped Facebook, I said, I'm going to read my Bible instead of getting on Facebook. I read the Bible through in 6 months.
Yeah.
Every book in 6 months. And I'm a slow reader. Yeah, I'm nearly dyslexic. And it was so good. I thought, man, I said, I'll never get back on that thing. And so I created that account for the purpose of helping churches with their Facebook. And I'm like, best thing I could do is help churches get off Facebook.
That's it. Yeah, I think you're right.
And look, I'm not going to fault you. If you're still on Facebook and you think that Gary and I are just a bunch of old kooks, we've been called worse by better than you, I can assure you.
I promise you.
But what we are saying is take a look at that, see how it's shaping you, realize that you've lost a lot of the personal interaction.
Yeah.
And
I seen preachers on there that would post 10, 15 things a day.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I know I posted, a couple, 3 things a day, maybe, and I was checking it. I knew that because the phone was telling me.
It's an addiction for them.
It is an addiction.
Because they want that positive response back. They want someone to say, amen, brother so-and-so.
My thought was, as I thought, I want to do what God wants me to do. If I get any praise and a pat on the back, I want it from him, not from Harold or not from my preacher buddies or none of those.
Right.
And I could not do that and stay on Facebook.
That's right.
I couldn't do it.
That's right. Well, I think we've whipped this pony into submission. I'm sure everybody else thinks we're nuts. Gary, you got any final thoughts?
Get off. Get off. Go pick your Bible up and that time that you're, hey, my thumbs are sore. Yeah, I remember Judge Judy said one time, she said, we're all going to have thumbs this big around from.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's probably a good place to leave it. Ditch social media, wean your church off of it.
Yeah.
Get them back to being in person. Go out and talk to someone. Share the gospel with someone today. Pray the Lord would be glorified in your efforts. Until then, we'll see you somewhere in the backwoods.